You know, in creating Borderlands, initially, we had to invent everything. So it's obviously a big challenge. And of course, there's the market struggle of trying to convince everyone to take a look at your new IP. Well, now we're in a world where Borderlands is a thing. It became a phenomenon. It surprised a lot of people, I think. And although we were always confident in the bet we made, the success of the game, the sales of the game, even exceeded our most ambitious expectations. Which is always very gratifying. As we go into the sequel, we have this really neat opportunity because the invention of the game systems and all of the foundations of what makes Borderlands great, that's behind us. The invention's behind us. Now, of course, we have terrible ambition at Gearbox. So when the creative director of the game, Paul Hellquist, dives into it and he starts to collect everyone's ideas, and you know, I'm happy to throw mine in the hat. Paul is such an amazing creative director that he was able to kind of harvest all this stuff, and we have this incredibly ambitious plan. You know, you dream huge, and typically what happens when you make a sequel, usually what happens is you start with this huge ambitious plan of all the things you want to do, and then you have to kind of start to pare that down, and as you're making the game, you make compromises to the thing that you actually have to ship. But Borderlands 2 had this really odd kind of exceptional kind of experience where, as we're in the beginning phases of the game, you know, Paul found himself in a spot where Borderlands 1's success is kind of snowballing. Borderlands 1 wasn't one of these games where it peaked at its sales, you know, and launch, and then decays after that. Borderlands 1 was one of these games where it kind of climbed. The more people played it, the more they talked about it, and then even more people got involved, and it kind of snowballed out. And so while we're beginning Borderlands 2, we find it makes sense to make a bigger investment, and budgets double, and we get 3 times the people and twice the budget. So instead of having to like pare down from that ambition, we found the game gets wild and out of control, and all the talent amongst the team, their dreams get to come true. And when, you know, we started with something, we said, well, let's make it about the same scope as Borderlands 1, and Borderlands 2 ends up being like twice as large. It's huge in scope. It's amazing what the team's accomplished with Paul's leadership there, and I'm just so proud of it. I'm so proud of this game.
All around the stack there's plants. The stalker chased a bandit. The stalker thought 'twas all in fun. Hop! Goes the bandit.
How do you attract new players then? I mean, you've done the hard work. You've got your fan base. Yeah. With the sequel, how do you attract people that maybe haven't played Borderlands 1 that maybe jump into Borderlands 2?
Now, fortunately, with Borderlands 1, it sold about 6 million units, and then millions and millions of units of DLC, and it reached a lot more than that. People playing split screen, people buying used copies, people, you know, there's all kinds of ways people find themselves with the game in their hands or get exposed to it. So probably, you know, 10 million people or more found some love with Borderlands. So that's incredible. If we reach everyone we've reached with the first one, that's amazing. But of course, you can't help yourself, and you think, how could we reach more people? What we found, the best thing we can do is to make a game of incredible value. My greatest wish is that when people play Borderlands 2, that part of what they're feeling after they spend some time with it is, man, you know, I took the risk, I bought this game, but the value I'm getting out of it, I'm getting more out of this than what I got out of the last $500 I spent on video games before Borderlands 2. And then they tell their friends. And it kind of, because the best salesperson for a video game is someone you trust, whether that's a journalist, whether that's a game player that you know is into it, that is always steers you right, like, dude, this is awesome, you need to check this out. And there's nothing that helps us know what to look for better than the people we trust. Now, Borderlands 2 gets the benefit of a tremendous marketing campaign. Because of the success of Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2 now can take a much bigger risk, and the hope is that through letting people know that there's a choice to be made, that we can reach a lot more people. Many of them will say yes. A lot of the people that have never played Borderlands didn't play it because it's not good, they just didn't know about it. But if you know about it, you're interested, and if it's been recommended, you probably give it a shot, and everyone that plays it loves it. So it's really, the marketing will really help too. But I think on me, the best thing we can do is make sure that we have a great, engaging, and very valuable game experience. Now, one of the things that's important that I didn't say that we're going to, you know, simplify the game or reduce down the stuff that makes Borderlands great. No, we know what makes Borderlands great, and we're doubling down on that, tripling down, investing in what makes the game great. And we're not trying to, you know, broaden it by being simple or by changing the game into something that it should never be. Borderlands knows what it should be, and we have to invest and commit to that.
Do you think there's too much of that in the industry these days? Like dumbing it down, like trying to reach the Call of Duty kind of market?
I think if you are a suit, if you're a business person in this industry, you can't help but be infatuated with the potential of some of the biggest blockbusters. When you can have some of our best-selling AAA games reaching 22, 25 million unit sales, it's a very compelling goal to try to have something that break out. I think that's exciting as an entertainer as well. I'd love to reach that many people. I do know, though, that if we're not careful, we can make decisions that we believe will make it accessible to more people, but actually take away what's interesting about your promise. And I've seen some game franchises make this mistake. They believe they're making decisions to make things more accessible. They think that's what's going to make a broader audience. But I think a lot of it is about what's the promise you're making. How many people are you even going to attract to your promise? There's some promises that are more niche, some promises that are naturally more wide. And then are you able to let people know that it exists? Okay, if they know it exists, they can say yes or no, but they can't even make a choice if they don't know it exists. And that's a function of marketing. Now, for the people that have been exposed and they've said yes, then you have to pay it off. You have to meet or exceed their expectations. Borderlands is in a great spot because it tended to exceed everyone's expectations. And those people that found it loved it. So it's in a really good spot from that point of view. Borderlands 2 gets the benefit for the first time of an incredible marketing campaign. Our publishing partners, 2K Games, are just, I can't believe the support. I mean, it just makes me warm as a game creator to feel the support that they've provided us, and I'm really excited to see what happens with it. But I think, you know, every person navigating this business has to kind of make their decisions, and you know, you hope to reach more people, both as an entertainer and as a businessman. But you have to be careful, because if you make decisions that are only going to affect people after they discover it, but you make a promise that misses, or you fail to tell people about the game existing, or because you've done things that you hope make it accessible to people you haven't reached before, you actually alienate those that you already have, you're in trouble.
Could I have a refund, please? This gun doesn't seem to work.
I don't know. Looks like it works to me.
So a lot's been said about the art choice and the originals. I was at the big decision halfway through development to go with this kind of cel-shaded look. I mean, would you say that's the biggest risk you've ever taken in your career?
You know, I've been asked if how risky I felt the art direction of Borderlands is, and the fact that we went with this kind of concept art look in the middle of development of Borderlands 1, and I can't say that it was a decision without risk, but once I saw it, and once we knew what we were betting on, and once we thought through the production problem of what it would take to create it, there was no other choice but to go with it. It felt like there was no other reasonable choice but to, and if you see the result, when you look at an image of Borderlands, you know it's Borderlands. There's nothing else that looks like it. And it's got this really interesting kind of proposal when you see the art direction, which is, this is this kind of outlandish kind of concept art look. What if this concept art look that normally we're used to seeing in 2 dimensions, what if that's the way the world looked? Because we light it realistically. We light it very the lighting and the shading and the shadows and all of it is a very realistic kind of rendering using a source material that's hand-painted and handcrafted. And it creates this look that we've never really seen before in a video game. It's not quite cartoon. It's definitely not realism. And people aren't exactly quite sure to make of it because it's its own look. And that to me is the magic of it. I think it would have been riskier to not do it, frankly. To not do it would have left us with a look that would have been the same as so many other things and would have made it, it would have increased the chances of Borderlands being less memorable, less noticed. Borderlands, of course, has an incredibly strong game design, so it's hard to say if it wouldn't have been able to survive even with a more realistic art direction, but I'm certain that the look that it has gives it a distinction and a uniqueness which is very special and very rare in this industry, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud of the decision that we made to go for it.
Well, I remember seeing it back in Leipzig, which would have been 2007, 2008?
That probably, if you saw it in 2007 in Leipzig, you saw it the first time we ever
Yes,
had anyone
I did. And then it's kind of, it didn't really leave an impact, but then the next time I saw it was at Gamescom, I think it was a year later.
Okay.
And it was a new art style. It was
Yeah.
like, whoa, is this the same game?
Yeah. And what's interesting is the game design, the loop, the collecting loot and leveling up, that was all there. What changed was this presentation style, and it suddenly made it interesting in a way we've never seen before. It's so easy for externally to parse something quickly. And you know what? There's a lot. You know, we say we should never judge a book by its cover, but you know what? There's a lot of books. You can't read them all before judging them. So sometimes you kind of have to look at the cover. And I think that we did the game a great service by giving it a very exciting and unique cover in the art direction of the game. And you know what? Our artists love it because their craftsmanship can really come through, the talent. Even, like, I love just playing alone and going off and looking at rocks for 20 minutes because they're all hand-painted, and you can see the artistry in just even the rocks. And in a realistic style, we kind of ignore them. We forget them. They kind of fade into the background because they just look the way they're supposed to. It's really interesting what that's done, and it's really kind of created a renaissance of art creation inside the studio.